Okay, so now we're going to learn about recording macros. A macro is kind of a little program that you can you can make Excel run that will remove some of the busy work associated with Excel. So let's start off here with our sheet. We're going to do a simple macro here. There's some more complex ones, such as a print macro, which will auto format. It'll be a little button that will auto format your entire workbook. So instead of having to go to File, Print, and running all of that, you can just push this button and it'll print it for you, format it to the correct page, so you won't have pages running over or sheets running over onto multiple pages. So this macro we're going to do here, pretend that every week you are given data like this and you have to take it and actually copy it all down, but into a different format, and you can't simply just say, equals this and then change it every week, change the inputs every week, because you need the formatting here and the formatting changes. We're going to make something that will basically reorient this row down from horizontal to vertical. And this is a simple example, but this row could go out, to thousands rather than just 5. So we're going to record a macro right now. So to record a macro, you can either go, if you formatted your quick access toolbar, you can do record macro here. Another way to do it is to go view macros, record macro, and the last way to do it is go to your developer tab. Developer tab might not be there, it's after view. If it's not there, go to Excel options and show developer tab in the ribbon, and your developer tab should be there. So it has this whole coding section. So let's record a macro, and this macro is going to be, actually first before we do this, we need to name this cell. And if you see that other video on naming cell regions, this will now explain to you why it's important to name cells for macros. So let's just name this Goto for copy macro. Okay, so now that cell is Goto for copy macro. So the macro that we're going to record will take this data and copy it down. So we're going to record a macro, and this is called, let's call this copy data. And with macros, just like naming cells, you can't start out, you can't have a space, you have to have an underscore. So stored in this workbook, and it's good to say in this workbook, because then when you send this file to someone, it's attached as a macro. So, well, it's not really attached, it's embedded, I guess, as a macro. So press OK. And now you're recording, and it's important to keep your cool while you're recording. It doesn't record in real time, so you can think about everything you need to do and you won't have to make a mistake. So because we're going to have this copy this data, by just pressing copy and paste, we actually need to have, when you click a button, it needs to bring the selection back to that cell C20. So the first thing we're going to do is going to press go to, and I pressed F5, which is go to, and I say go to for copy macro, and I press OK. So now wherever you are, you could be on a different sheet, you can put this macro somewhere else, or you can put this button somewhere else, it will go to that sheet. So now all we're going to do is copy the data down, and we can make this a little more complicated here. And this is the great thing about macros, is you only have to do this once. It's kind of tedious as you're doing it once, but at least you don't have to do it every single time you need to change something. So now we are back here, and you don't have to do this, but I'm going to press enter and go back to that cell. And we have finished our macro, so you can go to stop recording, and it will have saved it. Alright, and now we also pretend every week we want to, every time we use this, we want to have it clear out all of the data. We can record another macro. So let's record a macro, and this is called clear data. Alright, and again we want to go to this cell now. Actually, let's go back to this, to the macro cell. Alright, and we're going to have this delete all of the inputs here, and then we're going to have this, remember Alt H E A will clear all, and we'll just copy the formats from somewhere else. Alright, and now that we've done that, let's go back to that cell. And we are done recording our macro, so you can go to developer, stop recording. Alright, so now we have two macros recorded, and these buttons I just made earlier, they aren't doing anything right now, so I'm going to right click on them and say assign macro. And for the button that says copy, we're going to have it be the copy data macro. Press OK. And for the button that says clear, assign macro, we're going to make it be the clear data macro. Press OK. Alright, so now this will, if we hit copy, well, actually first, this is what we do every week. We have to, insert something. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this changes, pretend this changes every week. So now you press copy, and it filled in that series for you. And now the next week rolls around, and you want to clear it. So you just press clear, and we'll get rid of that. So then, you can type in whatever you want there. And it will fill that for you. Alright, so that is recording your macro. Now there's two important things involving the settings with Excel. So I'm going to save this, and you want to, I'm going to save this by going to the Excel button and save as, and you want to make sure you hit macro enabled workbook. This is what I was saying, it will almost embed all of your macros rather than saving them on your computer. It'll embed the macros, so when you send this via email or anything, they'll have a fully functioning workbook. So click OK, and we're going to save this as V10A. And it's important to save before and after you use a macro. So let's just pretend we close this out and we send it to someone. The first thing you want to do is you want to go to Excel Options, and you go to Trust Center Settings, Macro Settings, and you want to make sure this is clicked, Disable All Macros with Notification. If you were to click this, Enable All Macros, it says potentially dangerous code can run, so basically it's less safe. A virus could start running in Excel, and that would be awful to lose all of your data. So we're going to disable macros with notification, and what that does is pops a little error message up, or a little notification when you open up the macro enabled workbook. So let's go to Open and V10, and it's the XLSM for Excel macro. So it'll open up, and now it'll say, up here above the formula bar, it'll say security warning, macros have been disabled, and you can enable them because you know that you created the macro, you created the code. So enable this content, and you press OK. And now all is good, and you can use your macro and it will run. Alright, so that is macros. Just make sure that when you send it to someone, if they're not familiar with 2007, you tell them, hey, you need to go to Excel Options, Trust Center Settings, Macro, Security, and Disable with Notification.